Attention duelists! Prince here, bringing you the recap, the breakdown, the rundown of the previous Labrynth versus Traptrix selection pack showdown. We're going to be going in, giving our thoughts on how the matches went, and doing a deck list so that everyone out there can know what we were running. If you were inspired by us, as you should be, we're amazing. Do you want to start with yours, or do you want me to start with mine? And do we want to talk about the match first?
Uh, let's talk about the decks first, and since mine is more of a trap deck than yours, I'd like to take the first turn.
I don't know if that's true. But sure,
It
let's.
needs. So, go over the rundown real quick. Try
Here's
to start with the trap.
the list for
Trap.
everyone.
Yep. We'll talk about the Traptrix proper first. So, I am running 3 copies of each Myrmelio, Mantis, and Pudica, because all 3 unto themselves are basically the starters for the deck. So you get any one of those in your hands, bar very little interruption, you're off to the races. Dianea, she's a nice normal summon target. The issue when you have stuff set up in the graveyard, so she's really something that you would want to get off of Mantis's add to your hand effect after you've already gotten your link plays started up there. And that's the other thing to note there. The links, well, you're going to need to get monsters in the graveyard to really make use of Dianea's effect. Similarly, Vesiculo, she's really easy extender to pull off with this deck. And actually, she combos also very well with Mantis in that Vesiculo, you bring her out by pitching something from your field. Um, when she's in the graveyard, you use her effect to put something back down, but oh no, that effect, whatever it is, it's going to get blasted if you're not using it by the next turn. Well, then you use Mantis's effect to set and reset that card anyways to bypass that card getting nixed then. So, really nice little synergy there. Arachnacampa. Uh, I felt like 2 are enough for the deck. In playtesting it, 3 felt like it was a bit too much because you can only use the special summon effect once per turn. And even then, her she had 2 purposes. Funnily enough, her effect to protect my traps, that was her secondary use it became. I thought that would be the primary one. What I would typically use her for is triggering Sarah's effect to set a trap directly from the deck, which we'll get into it with your labyrinths in a little bit. Setting cards directly from deck is a nice way to get around Ash.
Yeah,
So,
guess
as
that
far as
explains
other
why
monsters,
you're only running one called by.
yes. Additionally, that's also part of why I'm only running 1 Gravediggers, just because the deck pretty well gets around it. I mean, every now and then I'll run into it. I think he used it on me once or twice, but even then, it wasn't too detrimental to the deck itself.
Right.
And actually, that's the other thing. Gravedigger's Trap Hole for this deck, I feel like it's better set in the deck for the sake of using Rafflesia's effect.
I think Gravediggers is a vastly underrated card.
I agree. Actually, yeah, with how many hand traps are being, well,
Hand traps and how many graveyards their effects are, especially since we're still in tier limit.
you're not wrong. The only thing that I would say to this is that you need to almost have the deck based around it. So Traptrix, they're able to utilize it very well. And I'm gonna sound degenerate here. A Magical Cylinders Burn style deck is another deck that can make use of that. Chain Burn, sorry, that's what it is. Chain Burn decks. Otherwise, just throwing this into any deck, you're probably asking for a Harpy's Feather Duster to take it out.
Yeah, I think I was running one in my Madolce deck before I got all the pieces for that proper.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a hard draw. But in trap decks, and we'll get into it later, but Labrynth could also hard search this.
Right. So, remainder of the main deck monsters here: 3 copies of Ash Blossom. In play testing, believe it or not, Max C ended up being a bit of a detriment to me because with how much this deck, well, cycles through itself. I came pretty darn close to milling myself out in a few games.
I feel like Maxi also runs the risk of drawing too many cards than what you could set.
Exactly. And here's another thing. I cheated a little bit knowing that you were playing Labrynth because it's just like, all right, if he's going to be playing Eradicator Epidemic, do I really want to draw and set all my traps, or do I want him to activate Eradicator, then activate them from the decks or set them directly from the deck?
Yep, and we did both know what each other was going to play, so that's super fair. It's not cheating.
Yeah.
Also, I'm
Um,
playing Labrynth. Of course, I'm running Eradicator.
yes, I was gonna say. I think that's been, has it been 2 or 3 weeks now that that's been like the hot button card for a lot of people? Just like, this card is so degenerate. Bada 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 bada.
And it's like, all right, don't play either spells or traps.
Basically, um, Parallel Exceed. I'm only running 2 copies of it. As silly as it sounds, I've played a few games where I drew two. It's just like, all right,
Oofa.
we're getting a little bricky here, so cutting it back from 3 to 2. And it's a nice one card as well. It combos off of Sarah then. So Sarah comes out, you bring out Parallel Exceed, boom, you have one of your rank 4s ready and raring to go then. Similarly, Lord of the Heavenly Prisons. It became a little too bricky at 3, so brought that back down to 2. Uh, nice little way to protect the back row then, and should you use one of those cards, then oh hey, you get a body on the field that's a 3K by 3K and an extra card from the deck.
Yeah, I was looking through your list, and he is, other than access code and Zeus, he's the biggest body you could get out.
Yep. Well, keep in mind, Traptrix really aren't meant for beatdown. It's a stun strategy, so you're playing the long game.
We will. You're correct, but when we did get into it, you not being able to hit over me was a big problem for you.
That's true. Which, again, we'll talk about it later.
Yep.
Spells and traps. So, again, knowing what I was going up against, and even in play testing against, well, not play testing, playing with this deck for the last 2 days now, Feather Duster and Lightning Storm. This deck really has no other way of dealing with back row, so I needed something to do against someone who's already set up. If that is one of the biggest issues with this deck. Going turn 2, it is hard to get going then.
Yeah, trap decks don't really have immediate removal available.
Right. Tantalizing Tune. That's a nice little card to get a little extra draw off if you need it, but honestly, I don't think I had it come out any games. I've honestly been considering getting rid of it. And frankly, I'm kind of happy that this ended up being the UR as opposed to Garden. Garden was a nice card sitting at 2. Um, only super rare. You get the extra normal summon, so you extend even further with the Traptrix. One called by the grave. Again, just in those instances where I needed it. I know we haven't gotten to the end of the traps here yet, but I'll go ahead and bring this up here. This deck runs a very tight ship. I had to make some concessions to compensate for the possibility of going second. If I were going first all the time, this list would look very different. I would have dropped Feather Duster, Lightning Storm. I may have even dropped the Ash Blossoms, but because that's not, it's a 50-50 if I'm going to start or if I'm going second. So
Right.
I need to sort of account for that. That said, getting into the meat of it, the traps, for which the Traptrix are known for. 2 bottomless trap holes. Personally, this one I'm sort of falling out of love with.
Is that
For
because of how
me,
many destruction immune cards there are?
on top of that, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't negate any on summon effects, which back in 2000, 2012. This was a fine card. Now I'm honestly considering dropping this one altogether in favor of bumping up the other ones more. Trap Hole Nightmare. Whenever a monster is special summoned, well, how many decks are special summoning?
That's all of them.
Everyone except for Flu, and no one aside from me is playing Flu anymore. So we got that going for us. Similarly, Floodgate Trap Hole. We'd played some IRL games with this one where it was that Marincess versus Traptrix?
Yes, it was. And Floodgate is just a hard stop to opponents' plays.
Yes, well, Link decks especially. I mean, yeah,
If a monster can't
again,
be
different.
identified for use as special summon material, then it's not helpful.
True. Now, in the case of Link decks, you're absolutely correct there. Fun fact: this doesn't work as well against Branded as one might think,
Huh.
because they are still targetable when they're face down for
Weird.
the fusions. Yeah. Um, Infinite Impermanence again, running it 2 copies of. Uh, Deck's gonna need. It gets more gas using the trap, so sitting on Impermanence at 2, that's just fine. And again, that's another card where going second it comes in handy. Gravediggers, like I said, in playtesting, one seemed to do just fine, but I'd probably remove the bottomless and bump that up either to 2 or 3. Uh, Terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare. That one, I am pretty happy sitting at 1, just based on whatever the opponent's deck might be. Because for all we know, they're running teeny tiny swarmy things, and they already have my board wiped before I have a chance to. Sorry, they have my board wiped before they bring something out with 2K attack. So what's the point of running it? It does have its situational usages, which is why I'm leaving it out.
Yeah, it is potential destruction and then banishment afterwards, so it's a little
Yep.
bit dual use.
Mm-hmm. And then I think one of my favorite cards out of the deck is Holitea.
The trap
Originally, I was
monster that's not a trap.
yep. Um, and it's super duper versatile, especially when using it with Sarah. Then, um, number of cards that I have no problem pitching a bunch of these cards here. The fun thing I like to do is actually pitch another copy of itself to bring it out then, and then it'll become either material for a Link monster or, more often than not, Rafflesia. But in pitching itself, that second effect that lets me summon back a Traptrix from my graveyard, that's pretty slick. It's basically the Traptrix version of Trickstar Reincarnation, because I can do that on either turn then to special summon.
Isn't reincarnation limited?
It is limited. I mean, it's not limited for the recursion effect, it's limited for the banish your opponent's hand effect.
All right, that one.
Yes. And then we get into the extra deck here. So, Rafflesia. I think this is easily the best Xyz monster that they have, seeing as it came into play 2 of the 3 games, and even then, it didn't come into game 3 because I wanted to play it for the lulz.
Yep.
Alamaris, she is a nice little target for if I need to search out Arachnicamp or any of the other ones, and I have that extra normal summon then. But she's also nifty as a Zeus target. Same with Prinkles there. Now, Baramet, I like the card and function, but if I'm ever bringing at Baramet the Sacred Sheep, I'm typically already winning, so it never saw play. Same deal with number 60 Durgaris. Sorry, Dugaris. If I'm bringing him out, I'm already in a winning position. He's taking up extra deck space at this point. Baguska, he has helped me out a lot these past few days here. That said, I'm not too sure how effective he would have been against the Labrynth deck. I think the Labrynth, and your whole bevy of trap cards would have been able to get rid of him, and then you're off to the races with your big body fiends. And then you can't talk about Xyz monsters without bringing up Zeus. So if you're running Xyz monsters, just play Zeus. And don't misplay like I did during in my game. Read
Yep.
your cards.
You got to read the highlighted text when it prompts you.
Yes. All right. Then the Link monsters. Sarah. running it too, just because ultra rares are expensive. That said, I think I'm happy running it at 2. It might be worth running at 3 in the future, but it has a lot of staying power, especially with Holatea sitting in the graveyard then, so I'm not too worried about that. IP Masquerena, if you're doing any sort of link plays like into Unicorn or Access Code, go ahead and run it. As we noticed, Traptrix have gotten really good at swarming, so getting her out onto the field, it's not a hard task. Kularia, I really like her effect of resetting trap cards. There are only two issues that I would have with her. One, she doesn't provide any additional protection like what Rafflesia or any of the Xyz monsters do. And on top of that, her effect works sort of counter to Vesiculo, because Vesiculo's effect activates when you have no traps on the field. So her, I'm happy running a single copy of. But that recursion at the end of the turn, I'm not gonna turn my nose up at it. Typically, if I would do any sort of link climbing with this, I'd go Sarah first, then try to get out Oedipus, and then bring out Kularia. So, got that, well, single copy of Unicorn. It's Unicorn. Spins back to deck. Why not? And guess what? Look at look at Kularia. Now look back to Oedipus. Now look back to Unicorn. They all point to each other. You're getting that extra draw. Then I'm going to talk about the new ultra rare here, Oedipus. I kind of wish that its effect would be a quick effect, similar to. I would go so far as to say to balance it out, I'd want to make it like Mirror Jade, where it's you can't use its effect next turn, but it's a once per turn effect. If you follow that.
Yeah, I get you.
But unfortunately, it is not a quick effect, so your opponent can respond really fast to it. That said, giving all of your other Traptrix that extra 1,000 attack points, not bad. Um, I have accidentally put myself in a few situations using Holetier's effect to bring, back a Traptrix, where I lose the stat boost, and it's just like, oops. But that said, our final member here, Access Code Talker. If you can run it, why not? I'm not afraid to beat your generate.
Yeah, access code's the old hey, whatever works.
Yep. Any questions about anything that's being run?
No, it all tracks for me. Your explanations made sense. Uh, I remember when the Traptrix starter deck came out, there was everyone and their grandma or everyone in their grandfather's deck was making a video about how you could just grab 3 of those and make a tournament capable deck.
It's pretty darn close, but there are better options. I hate to say it. I think 3 copies of the Abaz Strike deck would still function better than 3 copies of the Beware of Traptrix deck.
We'll never really know. But by all means,
No, I
by
know.
no means is it a bad deck.
No, it's not. It's just stuck with the stigma of, uh, sorry, a true trap deck. They really only function well when going first. So unless you're expecting to go first 100% of the time, prepare to be disappointed. That said, in a best of one format, no, I'm still going to say the same thing. It's still tricky. Don't get me wrong. I really, really, really like the deck. And honestly, these past 3 days that these cards have been out, I've been having a lot more fun on Master Duel than I have with a lot of the more recent ones that came out. Like when Godis came out, it's just like, all right, yeah, this is a fun new deck. The Bestial stuff came out. It's just like, all right, yeah, it's more good stuff, but I'm not having as much fun. But no, this with how explosive it has made the Traptrix deck, I've had a blast with this.
I've definitely been enjoying my matches playing Labrynth and
Uh,
not really running into just tier after tier. But I have also
that's
been taking a break from this game for a while, which is how I dropped down to silver.
oh no.
Now I'll
Well,
just
he
have
beat
to.
me, and I'm in gold 1 right now, so we'll talk about that one a little later and how I think there are a few too many bots on right now.
Yeah, I never trust a rescue rabbit.
That is fair. In any case, Labyrinths, what have you got for us?
All right, so I'm running a fairly different Labrynth deck from the one that I was initially running. I am one of the few Labrynth players who's running uh, Arion, but we'll get into that later and how my deck differs because I've seen other
Hmm.
players' decks and mine don't look the same. All right, first off, 3 copies of Maxi because have a lot of cards that can play on turn 0 to get me set up for my turn immediately, so I want to draw as much as possible.
Hmm.
3 copies of Labrynth Stovey Torby. Quick effect, pitch itself at another card to set a Labrynth spell trap. If a monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect while it's in the graveyard, I can special summon it. Both effects come up pretty often because it doesn't matter if you bounce or remove your opponent's or your own card. So it's able to bring itself back from either, which is super helpful. 3 copies
And
of
the fact that you can activate it on your opponent's turn, that is kind of nice because you're playing on their turn one.
yeah, starting off my turn with the trap all ready to fire is awesome and super helpful.
Hmm.
3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, for obvious reasons, because that's the game we play. Three
Yeah.
copies of Labrynth Chandragolier, same first effect as Stovey Torby, pitching itself to set, with its effect to come back to the hand if a monster is removed from the field by a normal trap card instead of the field. 1 copy of Ariane, the Labrynth Servant. She does not show up on a lot of lists at all. I run her because she can send a normal trap from hand to graveyard to special summon a level 4 fiend, which would bring out Ariana. And she does have the effect of if another monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect, I can draw a card and then either special summon a fiend or set a spell trap. Running her to have her get me a card alongside Ariana is good for keeping my hand advantage up. Ariana's effect is on summon, add a Labrynth card from deck to hand, except this card. And then she has the effect of drawing a card if monster is removed from the field by a trap. Then special summon a fiend or set. Running 2 copies of Lovely Labrynth. Your opponent can't activate monster effects in response to my normal traps. It can target a normal trap in my graveyard and set it, but I can only activate it if I control a fiend. If a monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect, I can destroy a card in my opponent's hand at random or on their field. Being able to rip cards out of your opponent's hand while they're trying to start their turns is just good.
Yup.
Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle. While you control a set card, your opponent can't target this card with card effects, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. You can only use each effect with it once per turn. If a Labrynth card or the effect of a normal trap was activated, except this card, you can special summon it from your hand in defense mode. And when a normal trap is activated, quick effect, you can set a normal trap with a different name directly from your deck. She is super strong, being able to summon herself if any of my Labrynth or trap cards have activated, or my opponent's trap card, like
Hmm.
happened with you.
I was gonna say she was a pain in the butt to deal with.
Yeah, her protections from destruction and targeting are super good. My only complaint is I wish she had even stat line of 3K by 3K.
She has to mess with your OCD.
Yep. But other than that, she's good.
Lore wise, how was she related to Lovely?
She is lovely.
She is Lovely. Okay, it's just battle mode or I
Yeah.
guess defense. Yeah.
I
Okay.
know the artist for Labrynth has done some sort of, I'm going to say like behind the scenes, but it's not the right word for it. And it's stuff where like Lovely like just waits in her castle, like living a neat life and making traps until the knight comes in and challenges the castle.
Right.
And that's when she actually like dresses up for him.
Ah, okay. Her.
Yes, her. Sorry, comma em.
Ah, there we go.
Yep. 2 copies of Pot of Extravagance because I don't really care about everything in my extra deck, so I'm perfectly fine to lose pieces to draw cards.
You
Unfortunately, I
did
typically
not.
find later on I will be missing something if I'm trying to go into my extra deck, or worse, if I somehow lose both Entices, then Dogmatic of
Hmm.
Punishment gets way weaker.
Hmm.
Labrynth, a wonderfully named card. If you activate a set Welcome Labrynth normal trap, you can add the effect to destroy 1 card on the field. If I activate a non-Labrynth normal trap, I can special summon a fiend from my hand or graveyard. So that's just both really good.
Yeah.
This really fun combo with that is activating Eradicator Epidemic Virus, tributing my own lovely Labrynth, then because I activated normal trap, using Labrynth to bring her back. Moving to the trap cards now, I'm running one copy of Torrential Tribute. It doesn't come up super often, especially because it's a one of, but if I get a really bad opener, just being able to set that and wait for when I think my opponent summoned enough and set it off, it's Torrential Tribute. It's board wipe.
Right.
Eradicator Epidemic Virus, everyone's favorite card. No one's ever been upset by it. Tribute a dark monster with 2,500 or more attack, so it'd be either lovely or lady. Then declare spell or trap. Look at your opponent's hand and all of their cards that they control. And until their third turn after this card's activation, destroy all cards of the declared type. If I know what archetype my opponent is playing, just being able to know which to call is a good way to get a lot of advantage, especially if I was able to set this turn one and then activate it right when my opponent starts.
I mean, even then, more often, I would say 80%. No, I'd even say 95% of the time, you're going to call spell because
Yeah.
traps, they need their turn to set. Spell cards, those are how everyone gets their gas going nowadays.
Yeah, most people run like what, one archetype counter trap and then three imperm.
Basically, if I don't think anyone runs more than 3 or 4 traps in a deck, if any anymore.
Yeah, except for trap decks in particular, which are
Yes.
what? Traptrix, Labrynth, and Dinomorphia.
If you want to throw Altergeist in there, yeah.
Haven't seen one of them in forever.
Paleozoics.
I haven't seen one of them in
Sure.
even longer, ever since Sprite took the frogs out of the game.
There are a few trap decks out there, yes, but you're correct.
Compared to the average deck, they're far and few between.
Yes, I won't disagree with that.
Next card, Evenly Matched, running it at 2 for obvious reasons. If I'm going second, this is a great way to clear my opponent's board. If I'm going first
Yeah.
and I know it's going to go to the battle phase anyway, it's good to have it on standby.
And on top of all that, my trap monsters are not immune to it.
Yep, because it affects the opponent, not the monster.
Yep.
3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Because of Lady Labrynth, she's able to set cards in by name, which is perfectly fine by me because I can already preempt it to have a negation. 2 copies of Dogmatica Punishment, running this with 3 cards in my extra deck in particular, but a couple other big bodies, such as Elder Entity Entis and Winged Pegasus at Ignister. 2 copies of the Ice Dragon's Prison. This is a good way to get rid of a card my opponent's trying to get from their graveyard and one on their board, and then banish them, which is super fun to do. And we have Welcome Labrynth, running this at 2. Special summon a Labrynth monster from the deck. Until the end of the turn, I can't summon monsters from the extra deck, except Fiend monsters. If a monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect while it's in the graveyard, I can reset it, which is really good. Combine this with Labrynth. It also has the effect to destroy a card on field. And yep, non-targeting destruction too.
Yeah, that's always a nice one.
Then there's the new card, Big Welcome Labrynth. Special summon a Labrynth monster from your hand deck or graveyard, then return a monster I control to the hand. I can then banish this card, or secondary effect, can banish this card from the graveyard, target a fiend I control, or if I control level 8 or higher fiend, which are Lovely and Lady, I can target one card my opponent controls instead, return that to the hand. You can only use one Big Welcome effect per turn, and only once that turn. If this gets set, it's a good way to get a body out and then bring it back to my hand for something else, or to remove an opponent's card. Moving on.
Then to the extra deck.
In the extra deck, I'm running 2 copies of Elder Entity Entis. These are Dogmatica Punishment's best targets, being able to pop a body that's less than 2,500, then Entis' effect to pop one card of choice. When Pegasus at Ignister, it's a little bit weaker than Entis, but does have the secondary effect of, while this card is in the field or in the graveyard, you can banish one card, then target one card your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. That is, if a card I control has been destroyed by battle or card effect. So it is sort of Nightmare Unicorn removal style of
It's
removal.
almost on the horses, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird like that. And here we have one of the weird Xyz monsters that I'm running for Not itself. Triple D Wave King Caesar, requiring 2 level 4 Fiend type monsters. I'm not going to worry too much about his effect because I would never want to use it. Then running number 41, Baguska, for obvious reasons of being able to stall out if I'm not getting everything that I need. And running these level 4s because Arion can pitch a normal trap to get me Ariana, which I can then turn into these. Then I have Triple D Marksman King Tell. He can be made using a rank 4 Triple D Xyz monster. Not going to worry about his effect again. And then Triple
There's
D, Divisor King Deus Machinex, made using an Xyz summon Triple D monster. And he is there for negations. Once per chain, when a monster card my opponent activates effect, I can attach 2 materials from this card, because I don't have any dark contracts, and then attach the opponent's card to this card as material. Then during the standby phase, I could place in my pendulum zone. I won't. It's just a big body able to interfere with my opponent.
there you go.
Link monsters, Nightmare Phoenix, obvious back row removal if I need it. IP Masquerena, protect my links. Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, because all my monsters are dark. Muckraker from the Underworld. She's a new one that I've used a few times while playing against other players. I like that she can just discard a card to summon back one of the materials I used to summon her, typically either Lady or Lovely. So it's nice
She
to.
is as much a Dark World as Tour Guide is a Burning Abyss.
Yeah. She's definitely more for them, but she is Fiend Protection, so that's another way I like to have her out there.
True.
Nightmare Unicorn for that sweet spin removal. Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess for the monster negations. She doesn't come up often because it's not often I'll come up with enough monsters on board that I'd want to link them away for just her effect.
Mhm.
Running one of my personal favorites, Unchained Abomination, for just constant destructions because I trigger destructions through my traps, and then he'll pop more, and then pop some more.
There you
And
go.
Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, for if it's getting really dicey and my opponent has a towers, I can try to get as many bodies on board as possible, and then use their card to make her.
Right. Okay. So, can't really say I have too many questions about your deck building per se. Have you run into any bricking at all with your big bodied labyrinth monsters?
I do, surprisingly, for only having 4 of them in the deck. I've oftentimes had them in my openers, usually one of each, and that's been a bummer. But if I'm able to get one of my furniture pieces also, I have no problem pitching them as the cost to set a card and then use that card to summon them back.
I was going to say the quick effects of those I figured were probably a saving grace of sorts.
Yeah, they're definitely being able to save bad starts just because, well, here's a couple of cards I won't be able to use, or I'm going second, and being able to preempt stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
I will say I've seen other deck lists that do not run Arion and will also run the Kuklok or Lord of Heavenly Prison, which is a card I chose not to run. I say chose, I just forgot he existed.
I was going to say, why don't you run the clock then?
I'm trying to remember why I don't run him. So the effect is pitch it. You can discard this card, activate one normal trap that was set this turn if you control a Labrynth monster.
Okay.
So that's why I don't run it, because it's not the way I play this deck. I'm
Fair
certain
enough.
my trap deck or my trap list is different from other people's.
I was going to say, there are what, 2 or 3 variants of labyrinths nowadays, so
Yeah, about that.
uh, this is technically what's it called? The IKEA variant of the deck.
Yeah.
Like it better than the Floodgate version.
I've never played the Floodgate version.
Have you played against the Floodgate version?
No, I've been lucky enough to not come up against it.
Oh, lucky you.
God is rewarding me by not playing Floodgates, by not making me play against Floodgates.
Oh, is that how that works? Okay.
It
Why
just
didn't
got to
I
be
think
God's
of that
favorite.
before? Yeah, I'm not Jesus. So, all right. So, want to talk about our match? What we like and dislike about the decks?
Yeah, I like when I won.
Who doesn't like when they win, though?
I'm sure there's some weirdo out there.
Yeah, but like you said, it's a weirdo, so their opinion doesn't matter.
Weirdos have opinions that matter. It's not about winning.
That's fair.
So, thoughts on the first match, which you started and I won that one.
You did win that one. I also think that was our longest match there.
Yeah, I think it was turn 9 at least.
Yes.
Also, was a 27-minute match.
Mhm. I think that was probably the most fun one, just with how much back and forth that was going on there. I mean, there are a few turns where it was just all right, set pass. But
Yeah,
still, we shouldn't.
that was definitely us learning how to interact with each other's deck.
Yes, I won't disagree with that. That said, um, I'll throw game two into it also. I'm now we'll talk mostly about one here. But the fact that there was any sort of back and forth was nice. Traptrix back when they first came out, they were only getting like they kind of had the Noble Knight treatment, where only maybe two cards were being printed in each set for a little bit, and even then, that only went on. Oh gosh, maybe for 3 or 4 sets. Um, but for them to get the support then and become a bit more active, it's nice. It's nice. Um, Going back to the new cards that have come out, Pudica, one card there brings out the field spell. Every deck has its field spell now, but this one allows for those extra normal summons then, and each trap trick has an effect based on normal or special summon. Kind of nice to get that extra little off there. So, two great new cards right there. Politeia, like we said, it's also a well, I guess it technically be two cards because you need to ditch a trap to activate it on your own turn. But given that you're running a trap deck, chances are you're going to be able to pull that off. So no problems there. Um, Alamaris being able, sorry, not Alamaris, Arachnocampo, adding that extra protection to the back row then. Also something that the traps are going to be loving then. Tantalizing too. It's an archetypal. I don't want to say pot of greed, but you're drawing two off of pitching one.
It's half a
And
graceful
it does,
charity.
yes. And the other nice thing about it is it's level 4 plant or insect. It's not even necessarily trap trick. So if you want to throw this into something else, go for it. I guess it technically isn't a trap tricks card though, because it's trap tantalizing too, and it doesn't have trap trick listed at all in it. So
Traptrix don't have any card that searches just trap trick cards, do they? It's all whole cards.
unless you count Sarah,
And doesn't she search monsters though?
yes, it is a monster.
Weird that they would neglect to add Traptrix to the name of it then, because I don't see why they would prevent it from being searched if they don't have a spell searcher in the first place.
Because maybe they don't want you searching something that's gonna put something in your graveyard and draw you two.
I guess.
Just a thought.
Oh,
Like I
God
said,
forbid they prevent people from putting cards in the graveyard. Tier lament.
terrifying trap hole nightmare. Again, it's a bit more situational than most other trap cards, but it's still nice every now and then. And then Adipus, adding that extra little oomph that the monsters need to be able to. All right, we can now swarm, but now we can swarm with big booties. So all hands on deck here. First game, that you had negated the search for Garden, correct?
Yes.
All right,
I
so I
think I
did have a
did.
bit of a
If not, I did in one of them. Someone else will watch the
right.
replays. I don't watch my
Fair
stuff.
enough. So that was a bit of a slower start, especially when again compared to game two. Then, um, but yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. That said, you were able to dodge a lot of the trap activations just using your own traps as well as Lady Labrynth's effects.
Yeah, Lady Labyrinth's protections, using Big Welcome to bounce my cards targeted by yours, etc.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I had fun just with all the back and forth that was going on there.
Yeah, very engaging match.
Yes. I mean, like you said, it was a 27-minute match that game one.
Yep.
Again, I can't say I'm surprised given that they're both trap decks. I mean, on paper you would figure Labrynth would be stunned, but it's interactive.
Yeah. It's a much better. I would rather have a back and forth match than one of those. My opponent made their unbreakable boards.
Agreed.
Like, oh, I didn't get the hand traps. I would need to deal with this.
Mm-hmm. So, anything really drag the match down at all for you, or were you pretty happy with it?
No, just sort of at the end went to a drag out beat down, but I think Lady Labyrinth's bigger body played a significant part in me winning.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really didn't have a lot, like you said, to beat over that.
And
That said,
also,
it could have.
if I ever had to use one of my traps to deal with something you were doing, you activating a trap would enable me to set a card, which would then reactivate Lady's protections.
Which was also kind of funny because you activating cards, I think half the time was activating Sarah's effect.
Yeah, we did a lot for each other.
Uh huh. You and I are not so different.
That's not true. That's impossible.
Wrong movie, but I'll let it slide. So, but yeah, I do have to say, Labyrinths, I think they've definitely earned their place as a top tier deck nowadays. Because they're getting a lot of YCS toppings, if I'm remembering correctly.
I'm not super up to date on the YCS, but I will believe you because I think they were making waves when they first came out too.
I think a lot of people were still figuring out the deck because at first when it came out, it was kind of like Eldritch Floodgate, but there was a bit more hopping around to it. Um, but I think, like I named it earlier, that IKEA variant, which you seem to be leaning towards now with all the furniture cards, that seems to be becoming the more popular version. And I think Lady probably plays a part in that. Because,
If
oh
I've
gosh,
activated a
what
furniture, I'm able to summon her from hand, so that's big.
exactly?
Just do
Now
it in the end
she
phase.
Now she and Big Welcome, they were the only new Labyrinth cards that have been released since their original printing came out last year, right? What was that set?
That
Because it was where
was.
Runix and what was the other one? They came out at the same time as Runix.
Is
I
it
just can't
Power of the
remember.
Elements?
No, it wasn't a main set.
Let's break up the TCG player and see. Welcome Labyrinth. It was Tactical Masters.
Okay, there we go. What was the other cards? Oh, sorry, what were the other cards that came out in that one?
They had that weird, like, sliding pendulum card one.
Uh, oh gosh, the one that starts with a V.
Valence.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Labyrinth, Runic, Valence, a bunch of generic traps and quick play stuffs. Astrograph got printed in that as a reprint.
That's
And
right.
yeah, I think it was just those three. Normally the extra packs have at least four. I think.
Hmm. More you know.
Yeah, that's what they came in.
But yeah, Big Welcome and uh, Lady were the only new printings ever since then, correct?
Yes. It's
All right.
possible that the silhouetted demons on the art for Big Welcome Labyrinth could be cards in the future, or the knight herself, but I don't think the archetype's really missing anything.
Agreed. No, I think it's pretty set as is. Is there anything more you'd want from the deck, though?
Uh,
Because you have that super interactivity where you're able to play on your opponent's turn.
yeah, and eventually gets to the point where one card will cause a 5 link chain.
Exactly.
No, I'd say the deck's good where it's at. I can't think of anything that it needs. It already has protections on its boss monster. Its boss monster has the 3K stat line for attack.
Do they have any weaknesses?
Um, None that I think that really actually exist. It's not like there's someone who can constantly wipe out back row without me being able to activate them.
All right. Any decks that you found that it struggles against?
Uh, None that come to mind. If it's something that I'm No, there was one, and it was a sprite player who I didn't have any of my interaction cards against. They were able to
Hmm.
set up their full board and even continue going into Melfi's. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do anything with my stuff. You've got like Carrot out to stop whatever first thing I do. It's not happening.
All right.
Carrot, Red, Sprite, Elf, and all that. It's like, I'm not getting through this board. Then you got Melfi's there,
Hmm.
which is just going to keep interacting with it. when I actually try to do my turn. So who would have thought without hand traps you can't really keep up in this modern game state?
Sad but true. So do you think the only thing keeping it out of, I don't know, the only thing keeping it from being more popular than something like Tier and Master Duel, or even maybe Cash Tier it in the TCG, would be that it really doesn't have that OTK potential that a bunch of other decks seem to have?
Yeah, that's definitely a big detriment to it because it's not like I'm always able to flood the board with all the bodies. They could
Right,
do an Oko theoretically, but not really through most people's boards. It's easier to just take it apart and leave Lady out there with maybe one or two others.
right.
I will say the deck doesn't really have negation built into it.
Built in, no, but it's also a trap deck, so that kind of helps out. Although, you know what? I'm actually gonna throw Traptrix under the bus with that one. The only sort of negation the deck properly has would be Adipus. Um, but and like, did we talk about this on screen or off screen? The Adipus is it's not a quick play effect.
Yeah, we talked about that in this one.
Okay, couldn't remember if I was talking with you or someone else about that.
It's
But
like
yeah,
a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss,
yes, yes.
except that one is a quick
So
effect. But this one can target more. So if you can pull it off, it could do a lot for you. But with the amount of cards that are quick effects, I don't really see it having the same power as Archfiend Abyss for that.
right. I guess the issue with that then is it's negation, but it's slow negation because as you're activating that effect, your opponent can respond to it.
Yeah.
So you're at the mercy of whatever traps you happen to have at the time. Now, that said, I think this is, well, I have mixed feelings on this. Traptrix can have that explosiveness if Sarah is on the field. Because Sarah, you play your trap, get another trap trick. Trap trick comes out, activates its effect, you get another trap. But unfortunately, Ash Blossom's the thing that gets in the way of that there. Huh, I hadn't thought about that. Is Ash usually an issue for your deck?
Um, it can be, and Ash can stop Stovey Torby or Chandragolier or any of the welcomes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that between all of them, it's possible that I could use one of my furnitures and then start my next turn off with Pot of Extravagance and get just two random cards that are able to keep me going. So I guess it does depend on how many hand traps my opponent has, because I keep saying that's the game. So I wouldn't
Yeah,
say an Ash Blossom is a hard stop to whatever I'm trying to do.
alright. Let's see. Anything else that you can think of?
Um,
'Cause like I said, Labrynth, I think they've wholly earned their spot as a top tier deck. And like I said, I wasn't surprised that you won. I am happy that I at least got one of those wins.
I will say, game two, I waited too long to try to use Stovey Torby because at that point you had Rafflesia out and were able to stop me.
Hmm.
I did hold out longer than I thought I would, though, after that. So I fumbled the bag, but I think I could have played that better and won all three. But that could also be just the overwhelmingly misplaced belief in myself talking.
Nah, it's all
You're right. It's totally placed properly. I'm great.
good. So what about some of the other things that came out with this new set?
I haven't seen any Dark World players.
You know what's funny? Neither have I.
You think people just don't feel like learning it?
You know what? I hadn't thought about it. What about Silva being banned
So people
as quickly
refuse
as it
to play Dark World because they can't hand rip forever.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past anyone.
Degenerates.
Yeah, but still.
Uh, something else that. Oh yeah, the generators. They came out too.
Generators came out. I actually played a match against them yesterday where I was down to the last 8 cards in my deck.
That's a grind game.
That was a grind game. It's actually, yeah, they ashed and maxied me on turn one. So that kind of limited, well, my turn one. But still holding out that long. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. That said, their new monster, um, I did not let it see the light of day whenever that thing did come out. I had Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare ready to go, so it's just like, yeah, you're not doing anything with that this turn.
I played
But they
against
had a
a
lot.
generator player who used Levatin, but when they used its effect to special summon the other generator Xyz monster, they didn't take my monster from the field, which I thought was odd of them.
Huh,
Yeah, they took the one from the grave, and it's not like it had its protections up at the time either.
right. That is odd.
But the
Didn't they
real
have another UR come out? I thought they'd
um
only.
no, Dark World got 3, Labrynth got 2, Evil
Uh-huh.
Eye got something. Forgot about them.
That's right. Evil Eye did get something, didn't they?
And Magikey also got something, but I think they're just SR.
Yeah, it's that level. Sorry, it's that rank 8 light Xyz there.
Yeah, Star 2.
Yeah.
I talked about it in my pack thing. It's not impressing me.
I was gonna say I play Magic Key, and I don't see any reason to run this. So primarily because it's a rank 8. The rank 8s that you would be using to get this out, they are your Fusion Dragon monster, which whenever a Magic Key monster destroys something, you get to draw a card. And on top of that, it has a once per turn attributal Dark Hole effect. So, sorry, not attributal, Dark Hole, attributal Raigeki. So, you get to destroy all your opponent's monsters of a certain attribute, plus you draw off of that. Why would you want to get that off the field? The Synchro monster, it lets you set a Magic Key spell or trap from your deck every turn. And on top of that, if your opponent summons a monster or monsters, if you pendulum summon, um, something that shares an attribute with what's in your graveyard, you can destroy that. So, disrupting their summons, why would you get rid of that? And it searches for your spells and traps. I want to keep that on the field. And then lastly, the level 8 ritual. That I only have one run copy of, but its effect is it can negate a monster's effect once per turn, and it gets bigger depending on how many attributes are in your graveyard. Why would I want to get rid of my negation for this thing that can banish once per turn?
The real question is, has Sneaky C shown up?
I don't think so. It's been a while. You know what? I have to say, I'm not too upset about this one because I kind of feel like Sneaky this is gonna be bad. Sneaky Seat is the ultra rare that you dismantle immediately, so you can make ultra rares from other packs.
Yep. I pretty sure I mentioned it in my unpacking video, but not unpacking, pack opening video, but like there's no reason for this to be a UR when like I think Max C is the only C that is. I think Flying C isn't even like super rare.
I
That
was
shows
gonna
up in B
say
Trooper.
you also called this a worst Nibiru, right?
Yes, because if this thing does not survive until the end of the turn, it does nothing for you. If you can make it live, it flips all your opponent's cards, so that's good. It's kind of like the floodgate trap hole. But
Yeah.
the fact that your opponent could still interact with this, and odds are, if your opponent's going wild setting up their board, like Appaloosa, Baron, any number of things that just stop a monster effect from going off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, that's the one that you dust immediately.
Yeah.
So I am okay with that. Let's see, what were some of the other cards? You play Runic IRL. What do you think of that new fusion?
It's bad.
Okay.
Yeah, all the runic cards preventing you from having a battle phase. This one's effect activates when it attacks. Like
Hmm.
that's never gonna come up if I'm playing runic cards.
The only thing that I can think of is if a ban list hits the deck in a way that it can't be floodgatey. But like you said, the point of Runics, it's a mill deck. Why would you be attacking in a mill deck?
Yeah, like even then, like the amount of cards that it mills is not an impressive amount. It's only two. I think most runic cards mill three.
Hmm.
So like just getting an extra two for having this on board would be like taking the place of Hugin or Moonin is not worth it.
Right. Nah, I agree. I guess they're just trying to work out their Nordic lore or whatever's. I'm not too familiar with Runic's whole gimmick. I thought it was supposed to be like an RPG thing because all the spells and traps that look like you're.
Like Skyrim first person.
Yes, exactly. But then all the extra deck stuff is Nordic stuff, so I'm not
That's
sure what sort of
some
stuff
manner
they're
of
working out
strange.
there.
I never played Final Fantasy 14, so I don't know. I'll have to ask an expert.
That's fair. So, but yeah, what else came out in this then?
Evil Eye got stuff. There's some generic insect slash plant support. This weird
I'm
thing.
sure that would. I'm pretty sure that's if as silly as it sounds. If someone wanted to do a draft, that would work well with the Traptrix, the plants and insects. Let me see this here. Target 3 monsters in your graveyard. Choose one. Yeah, that is silly.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
weird. Either
wait,
get
wait, wait.
one or you get everyone else.
What's the first rare there?
Praying Mantis.
Oh, okay, that's it. Yeah, for some reason it looked like a cyber card at first.
I was thinking it kind of looked like a heraldic.
Oh, okay. When you actually see the card, yes, but when you X that out there and you're just looking at it from like 20 feet away, it kind of looks like a cyber's monster or
Overall,
like an. Oh,
some of the other stuff was unimpressive but weird, like Baby Spider,
yeah, that's not a good
Mother Spider Splitter.
card.
Yeah, none of them. I never. I'm sure someone could make some goofy FTK with them, but I'm not the person to cook that up.
Nah, I don't blame you.
Weird cards like Diabolica.
There are not as many super rares as I thought there were going to be.
Let's see specifically new ones. 1, 2, 3, 4,
There
five,
we go.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
All right. So maybe there were a few more than I thought. I feel bad for the Evil Eye guys because they're like Dark Worlds, and that they have a super expensive deck, but they're not as good.
Yeah, I've never played against one. I think I've seen them in some of the watch and learns, but never seen one in person, only in the wild on
Is
Animal
Gorgon
Planet.
their boss monster?
Yes.
I've played them a few times, but I don't think I've ever lost to them.
Yeah, they
So
are super leaning on their equip card.
yeah, I was gonna say I hate to say it, that might be the one thing worse than a trap deck, an equipped deck.
Uh, don't let the don't let the noble knights hear you. All one of them will cry.
Are we counting ignoble knights in that one?
Oh no, they're actually semi-playable.
Yes, I was gonna say the Artorian stuff. uh, yeah, less. The less said, the better.
You think we could find the one Evil Eye player and the one Dream Mirror player and just make them fight?
Oh, that would be so friggin' hilarious. Let's do it.
That'd be so awful. It's just a pool noodle fight.
Screw it. Throw me in there as the only Magic Key player because I don't think I've run into any of those either.
I've never seen one.
Give it time. We'll do it someday.
And
Maybe.
judging from the way we're experiencing ladder, I think I could be the only Dark World player. I think Graph is a great
That,
card.
oh, Graph is a terrific card. Side note here, did you happen to see Hyde's newest ranking video?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Did they cover the
Because
Dark World deck?
they did cover Dark World. I think it came in high A.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think that also added their field spell
Yes.
and also added snow.
Hmm.
And
Both.
I know from trying to make the Danger Dark World deck that they got one printing before the new structure deck.
I actually think all of those came out at the same time. Graph of Snow, Ceruli, and the Gates of Dark World all came out with that structure deck.
Yeah, that structure deck was awesome.
It was awesome. Two decks in that same video were put at a higher rank than it, though.
Oh, what the hell?
Oh gosh, what was it? The Sanctuary / Agents one with Hyperion
All right, that one earned it.
and Dragons Collide.
Was that the one that added the Chaos Dragons?
Yes.
All right, good. I was thinking if it was either that or the Dragoonity one, and the Dragoonity one sucks.
It does suck. Fun fact: the Six Samurai deck was the first structure deck to include an extra deck monster.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, the more you know, right?
And it wasn't even their best extra deck monster.
Nope.
And that card was already out, and God knows they didn't even give it a reprint in that.
How many times has that been reprinted at this point?
At least two, I want to
Shien,
say.
we're talking about, correct?
Yeah, Legendary Shien.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think
The
at least two,
Synchro
because I know
Shien.
I have him in two rarities. I know one's
Well,
from Storm of Ragnarok. I think the other was from a reprint.
well, hold up. Back in Storm.
I still have
I'm trying to
TCG
think of
player up.
when.
I'm looking.
I'm trying to remember when they stopped doing it, but I think starting with Soul of the Duelist, and this went on for a few years. Every card had a chance to be printed as an ultimate rarity.
I have my ultimate rare Shien, and I have a ultra rare Shien, and he has been printed three or four times actually. No, three.
Okay.
He got two rarity printings in Storm of Ragnarok, one in Spirit Warriors, and one in a raw yellow mega pack.
Okay. I think the Spirit Warriors were when that next wave of Six Sam stuff came out, so that would make sense.
I have the thing up right now. Let me look at the thing. TCG player feels like loading. Yes, I see Secret Six showed up in that, and a bunch of Six Samurai reprints, and I think that's when Weather Painters came out as well, and Magical
Huh,
Musket.
the more you know.
It was a real banger set. Well, I say that, but Muskets weren't as impactful as everyone thought they would be, and I'm the only Weather
No.
player. Yeah, it
That's
was
fair.
just those three archetypes and a couple of rando stuff. Like they've got some. It's not counter fairies, is it?
I don't think so.
No, it's just some filler trash.
All right.
Yeah, filler light fairy trash.
Your trash fairies.
But yeah, we're promoting other channels on my channel, so we're gonna stop doing that because I think we've finished talking about our match.
Yeah. Yeah, if I just say a quick rundown. Traptrix, they've come a long way since 2014, I think, when they originally came out. They actually swarm now, kind of befitting the insect, so I'm quite alright with this. I just wish they could do a little better at going second. But that aside, I'm rather happy with them now.
Labrynth got a proper boss monster with the 3K stat line because that 100 missing points really hurt. And Big Welcome Labrynth gives you a way to non destruct removal, which is helpful when you can't destroy.
Any idea what we might be looking forward to next time?
Let me
I'm
check.
still waiting for ninjas.
Yeah, let me check the latest sets. That was. Did Lady come out in Dark? Yeah, Lady came out in Darkwing Blast. So I think other than ninjas, we've gotten everything out of that except for
Boom.
Kashtira. So we could get Cash and ninjas.
That's a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised about Cash.
And
Because
then
we talked about this IRL the other day that. Was it? Yeah, just about everything is out. But I think you also threw out the possibility of Pirelli and what was the other one?
Rescue.
Rescue
Yep.
coming out, which I
Pirelli,
thought would be.
Rescue, and Makonko were the other cards from Amazing Defenders, which was after Darkwing Blast.
Right.
So maybe we'll get lucky and they'll hold off on cash and we'll get the rest of some other stuff, but always hard to tell what they're going to do.
Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that for next month, Tier Limit gets a hit. We go ahead and get cash so we can get it out of the way. And then after that, we can move on with our lives.
I do think that there's probably no chance we get Pirelli and Cash in the same set because those are both big money grabbers. I
Hmm.
could see Cash coming out next pack as a follow up to this one because of how many just brand new URs came in this one to sort of draw people in to spend their gems and then drop Cash, the arguably one of the best decks currently out there, immediately after.
I'm just trying to think also. It seems like if any cards come out, it's typically 9 months after they've been out in the OCG, too.
Amazing Defenders, that was January.
Yeah. They had a bunch
So
of Galaxies stuff come
Darkwing
out.
Blast, that was November.
Yes.
So yeah, in August that'll be 9 months.
Yeah. All right.
We are
So
getting
we'll have to
further
see.
and further away from actual TCG releases with Master Duel. I think
I can't
DPE
say I'm
was
surprised, but
6 months behind.
was it?
I want to say it was because DPE was January that came out, and Master Duel dropped in April.
That's 3 months difference.
Right, but then Master Duel didn't have DP on release. It was at least 2 months after that, I think, 1 or 2.
Okay.
So yeah, we've definitely
That
gotten
said,
further away.
it's I won't say you're right. It is further away, but at the same time, Master Duel is kind of its own beast now. It's its own format, so I can't exactly hold it to the same standard that I would the TCG or OCG. It's just a matter of new card win.
Yeah, someone insert the gif of that guy from Pacific Rim talking about how much faster we're getting the events. I want more cards faster.
Speaking of events, I'm still waiting for whatever this month's is supposed to be. Like
Speaking
whatever.
of, I haven't done the newest gate yet. I've heard it sucked. I'm looking forward to that suffering, but really hoping they do more with those.
Oh, well,
Ninja
I'm
Gate,
just as I would be okay with Ninja Gate. Like I said, I've been waiting for those for a while now.
much to
So,
consider.
yep. All right. Well, I think I've said my piece about this
Yeah, we've
for
said
the
all there
last
is to
minute. Yep.
say, and there's no saying anymore.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
to all the viewers out there, if you caught the stream, thanks for watching. Catching the replay, thanks for that too. See you later, I guess. Good luck on your pools.
Bye.
Good luck on your duels. Bye.
Bye.